Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to go over 3 investments that you can actually make today with just $1,000 that's going to get you to start earning passive income. Okay, so don't get too excited. You're not going to be quitting your job anytime soon. You're not going to be retiring anytime soon, especially with just $1,000. However, what I do hope you take away from the video is the idea and the concept that by investing your money and getting it to work for you, it's a really good avenue for you to earn money passively or to get your money working for you. All right, so without further ado, let's get straight into this one. All right guys, so like I mentioned, let's get straight into it. Let's see how you guys can start earning passive income with just $1,000. What are some of the investments that you can actually make today and start getting that going for you? Now, for those of you who don't know, passive income it's basically income that's earned without you having to do a single thing, right? You're literally earning money while you sleep, right? You make the initial investments and then the income starts rolling in. You're not gonna have to, it's not like your 9 to 5 where you're trading your time and your hours to earn an income. You're obviously going to be earning money without you even lifting a finger, right? So it's a really good way to earn, extra income, a side hustle, or for you to supplement your main source of income, right? So let's get straight into it. Now, the first investment that you can actually make today that will start earning you passive income is buying dividend yielding stocks, right? Stocks with a really good dividend. Now, to break this, because this video is going to be a lot about dividends, I'll go over what a dividend really is. So basically, a dividend is a way or a form in which a company can actually pay out its earnings or its free cash flow that's just sitting on the balance sheet, right? So if the company has earned a lot of money and it's got a lot of cash sitting in the bank, rather than just letting it sit there doing nothing, probably losing money due to inflation, losing value due to inflation, what they can actually do is actually pay that money out to its shareholders, right? So a company can either reinvest that money into itself, or if there's no more opportunity, or if the management feel like we've spent all the money that we can on reinvestment into the company, rather than just letting that money sit there, they can actually pay that out in the form of dividends. And that is literally money that's sent out to you just for holding the company share, right? So that's a really quick summary of a dividend, and also a really good way to start earning passive income, owning stocks or owning assets that produce cash for you. So you don't even have to look far for stocks that produce a really good dividend, right? There's companies that that you see every single day that are well known for the dividend, right? So for example, you've got the likes of Coca-Cola, you've got the likes of McDonald's, they pay really, really good dividends, or they have a really high dividend yield, right? So that's the first way to start earning an passive income, right? You just buy shares. And one of the other upsides, or one of the other benefits of buying stocks or buying these assets that produce cash flow for you, is that not only are you going to be earning cash in the form of a dividend, getting that check every 6 months or annually, some companies might do, but you also have the upside or the potential for the share to appreciate in price, right? So what I mean by that is, not only do you get a return in the form of the dividend, but you could also get a return in the form of the share price itself appreciating. So going up, basically, right? So say you buy the stock at $20, you get your dividend, year on year on year. But if that's a really good company, it doesn't mean that it's going to stay at that $20, right? So if it's a really good company, a wonderful business, in 10 years' time, you would have been collecting that dividend the whole way along. You're holding and you're getting your dividend check. But also, the stock price itself could have gone up, to $50, $60, right? Because it's a really good business. So a really, really good way to start earning passive income. And it's also an affordable way to invest $1,000, right? Rather than buying a rental property, which will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can just put that $1,000 and buy a stock of a company, a wonderful business that produces a really good dividend, and start earning passive income, and also have the potential upside on the stock appreciating in price, right? Now, should you go out now and look for every single stock out there that's got a really high dividend or a really high dividend yield? No, right? Because just buying off based on dividend yield is not a really good strategy, right? And the reason for that is there are a lot of companies out there, and there's a lot of case studies that have been proven, right? That what they will actually do is, because there's a lot of new investors who do go out and buy stocks just based on the dividend, and as long as they receive that dividend, they don't really care what's happening with the underlying business. What a lot of companies might do is put up a facade, basically, right? So they will be in a lot of trouble, but they'll borrow a lot of money and they'll pay out the dividend, right? They're just to pay the dividend, to keep shareholders happy, and to keep them thinking that everything is la-di-da up in in Rainbow Land, right? But in actuality, in reality, the business is in a lot of trouble. So if you are going to do that strategy, you're going to have to understand the fundamentals of the business. You're going to understand, what are some of the tailwinds, the headwinds that business faces, and you want to know whether the balance sheet can actually handle this. Specifically, you want to see if the company's free cash flow can actually support the dividend that they're paying, right? And that is shown on their balance sheet. Okay, so again, don't go just buying out companies that just says, oh, we have a 6% dividend yield, and you have a portfolio full of these companies that have these high dividend yields, and then they go broke, right? Which has happened in the past, and it's happened to some of the biggest companies in America, right? So be careful if you are going to do that strategy, but don't worry. I know that sounds like a lot of work. I know you're like, God, you made it sound really easy, and then you're like, but yes. So that does sound like a lot of work, and if it doesn't, if that's not something that's going to you're not willing to do, and if that's not something that you're not willing to do, or if it's not for you, you're not into digging deep into a business and looking into its financials, then the next strategy might suit you a little bit better. Now, if buying individual companies and digging deep into the fundamentals of a business and it's all of its financials doesn't sound like it's for you, you're more of just you're wanting something that you just want to buy, set it and forget it, and just start collecting that check year on year on year, this next one might be more suited to you, and that's buying dividend producing ETFs or high dividend ETFs, right? Now, I've already gone over what an ETF is. I'll link that in the video. Just click on the link at the top now. However, basically a dividend yield, a dividend ETF is a collection of companies, or an ETF that's designed to track a bunch of companies that all produce a high dividend, right? And therefore will produce a dividend for you. So a good example of a dividend ETF is something like the Global Super Dividend Fund, right? They've got a dividend yield of over 8% from memory, or something like the iShares Emerging Markets Fund, who have, I think, a 6.5% or close to 7% dividend yield. So if you're someone that's looking to just put your money into, invest it, set it and forget it, an ETF is probably a lot more suited for you. Now, the benefits of you buying an ETF rather than buying individual companies, there's quite a few. The first one is obviously you're going to get diversification, right? So which is really important. You're not putting all your eggs into very few baskets or just one basket. What you're doing is actually spreading your money across a multitude of companies just by buying one share of an ETF. Right, so there's one, you get that, so that's one benefit, you get diversification. Number two is you don't have to go out and buy all those companies individually by yourself, right? So let's just say you wanted to go out and buy 10, 12, or 20 companies that all have just for the dividend, right? Now you're going to have all the brokerage fees, you're going to have all the transaction fees, and having to keep track of each single company if you go out and do that yourself. Whereas if you just buy an ETF, you're just going to buy it. One share is going to get you exposure to all the companies that's within that ETF, and you can just set it and forget it, right? So that's a really, really good way for you to start. And then, of course, you can dollar cost average into that over a long, a really long time horizon. So you can just show up every month or every 6 months, whatever it is that you decide to put into the market, and you can just put your whatever money it is that you have at that time into that ETF, and then you'll have the upside of having that dividend check show up every 6 months or every year, and also you have the upside of having exposure to the companies that's within that ETF. Okay, so buying an ETF, if you're someone that just wants to set it and forget it and not really pay too much attention to the markets, or you don't have the time to pay attention to the markets, then looking at different ETFs might be the strategy for you. Guys, before we get to the third and final investment that you can make with your $1,000 today, if you're getting any value out of this video at all, or if you're enjoying the video, if you learned something new, please consider liking the video. It actually helps out quite a bit. Just getting, with the YouTube algorithm, and just getting this video in front of other people who might be wondering how they can start earning some passive income as well. So if you like the content on the channel, if you like this video, like and subscribe and turn on your notifications just so you get notified every time I put up a video. Okay, now with that being said, the third and final investment that you can actually make today with your $1,000 is buying a REIT. REIT. Now that stands for Real Estate Investment Trust, right? So a REIT is essentially a company that owns, operates, or leases out income producing real estate, right? So basically they take the pool of money that they get from their shareholders, you or me, if you're buying into a REIT, take that money, they go out, they buy properties or they buy buildings, they either redevelop it and then they'll lease it out, right? And then the income that comes in from those properties that they own actually then gets distributed out to the shareholders in the form of a dividend. Right now, the reason why you might want to look into a REIT is because of the business model of a REIT is that they actually have to pay out 90% of their income. In some cases, they pay out 100% of their taxable income to its shareholders in the form of a dividend. So a really good stable way for you to earn passive income from these REITs, right? So an example of a REIT is something, one of the more popular ones is something like SPG, Simon Property Group, or here in New Zealand, something like the Kiwi Property Group, whereby the most notable property that they own is Sylvia Park, right? The one of the biggest malls here in New Zealand or in Auckland. That's essentially what REITs do. They take the money they get from their shareholders, they then go out and develop properties, whether it's retail or family, units for people to live in, just basically income producing properties, and then the income they get from that gets distributed out to its shareholders, right? So that's a really, really simple business model. And because they have to pay out 90% to 100, some cases 100% of their income to its shareholders, it's a really good option to earn a dividend or to earn passive income as an investor. Right now, another benefit, of course, that you're going to get from investing into a REIT is that you're then going to get exposure to the real estate market, right? So if you're someone that's been wanting to get into real estate, but obviously like somewhere like I live in Auckland, there is a clear housing problem here. If you're looking at $800 to $1 million for a house, and obviously not everyone has the capital around to make that deposit, that 10% deposit that they ask for sometimes, but you're really wanting to get your first foot onto that ladder of getting yourself or getting some exposure to the real estate market. Buying into a REIT is a really good way to do that, right? So again, if you partner that up with buying an ETF and then you buy a REIT as well, now you've got a really, really diversified portfolio and you're diversified over a couple of asset classes, right? Not just stocks, but you've also now have exposure to real estate. Now, also another benefit of buying a REIT instead of having an actual property itself is that buying a REIT is a lot more liquid than having the property, right? So for example, you go and you buy a rental house, you get into trouble, you can't just sell that house tomorrow, right? It's not like you just buy the house today and then you need the money in a month's time, you flip it and you get it in a week, right? It doesn't work that way in real estate. Whereas with a REIT, because in most cases, most REITs are traded on most exchanges as a public company, you can just buy and sell the shares with the click of a button, essentially, right? So you get exposure to the real estate market, you get that dividend, which is really going to help with, your passive income. And then thirdly, you also have the upside, again, for that share to appreciate in price as well, right? Now, they're not going to be the fastest growers, but you're not only getting that dividend, but remember, you own a share of an underlying business, and as long as they continue to grow and continue to bring in, grow revenues and things like that, there is a chance that REIT or the price per share of that REIT will go up, which will give you further upside for your portfolio, right? So, look into those things. Don't just go out now and buy the first REIT or the first ETF that you see on Google. Do a little bit. It does require you to do a little bit of research, as always, because none of this is financial advice. It's all for entertainment and educational purposes only. So again, please do your own research. But that is the third and final tip, guys. If you enjoyed it, if you liked the video, again, let me know down below what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and there's a lot more content on the channel if you pop by and have a look. So thanks a lot for staying around this long, and I'll see you guys in the next one.